Hi, class. Welcome to week number 5. And before I start with the key points, I just want to say thank you for your participation, all your questions, all your stories, all the risks that you are taking while participating, and how engaged you are with each other. I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate all the things that you are sharing that are helping me to think not only as a professor but as a researcher, and are giving me a way to look back in everything that I did during my own ethnography when I was doing my dissertation. So this week, our three readings are doing one thing. They are taking apart the idea that an interview is just a container you pour a participant meaning into. So, in the readings that we are covering this week, Bloodmar and Ye treat the interview as a fieldwork, where your questions help to produce the data. Defina and Perrino showed that the line between the interview talk and natural talk is a false dilemma. And Heath, in this chapter, is an ethnographer deciding how much of her own hand to show you, and the slideshow covers the concepts, so I'm not repeating that here. What I'm doing in this video is giving you a way to read a transcript, 4 questions to hold while you read the one that I have shared with you in this week's discussion. So let me name the theme that all three readings are circling. They are pushing against one comfortable idea that an interview is a container, that the participant has meaning inside them, and your job as the interviewer is to ask the right questions so the meaning pours out intact into your recorder. And Blummer and Jay say no. And one of the reasons that I love this article about them, or how they are telling us how to think about the interview, is because they are very straightforward. And they say the interview is fieldwork. And like all fieldwork, the data is something you help to produce. So your questions, your presence, your relationship, all of it shapes what becomes sayable. The Fina and Perino say no from a different angle. They call the divide between interview talk and natural talk a false dilemma, and they show that the most interesting things happen in the porous zone, where the interview stops sounding like an interview. So, in Heath, in these chapters you are reading, is herself an ethnographer making constant choices about how much of her own hand to show into the data she presents. So, put those together and you get the claim for this week. The interviewer is the data, no contaminating constituent it, and learning to see your own hand in the data is not a confession of bias. It is the analytic skill. So there is one slide that I want you to hold on to while you watch the rest of this. The slide with the topic and resource on it. When we treat interview data as a resource, we read it as a report about a world outside the interview, the participants' real life, their true beliefs. When we treat it as a topic, we read the interview itself as the thing worth analyzing and jointly construct a reality built right there in the room. This week, I'm asking you to practice treating the interview data as topic. The slide gives you the concept. The transcript that I'm providing you gives you the place to practice it. So let me hand you a few questions to take into that transcript that you're going to analyze. So here is how I want you to read, and it is a different kind of reading that you are used to. You are not reading for what the participant is telling you, which it's what we normally do. You are reading for how the conversation is being built. turn by turn between two people. So let me give you 4 questions to hold while you read the transcript. And I'm not going to answer them on the transcript for you. Finding where they land is your work this week. So these 4 questions are the spine. You can let each one breathe. If you have the deck up, each maps to a slide. So the first question, read my turns, not just the participants. When you analyze an interview, the instinct is to underline what the participant said and treat my questions as neutral plumbing that deliver it. Resist that. Read my turns as moves. What did each of my questions make easy to say, and what did it quietly make harder to say? An interview is a duet, and you have been trained to listen to only one of the singers. Listen to both. The second question, watch for the moment the script bends. Every interviewer walks in with a plan, a protocol, a set of intended questions, and almost every interview departs from that plan somewhere. Watch for those departures. When the conversation leaves the script, does the data get thinner or richer? Blundmark and Yee have a strong claim about this, that the departures are often where the goal is. Test that claim against what you actually see. You will need my protocol to do this well, and it is posted alongside the transcript, so read them side by side. The third question, find where it stops sounding like an interview. There is usually a moment, sometimes more than one, where the participant shifts from answering into telling. The careful question and answer rhythm loosens, and suddenly they're just talking the way people talk. Find that moment, mark it, then ask in the interaction allowed it, and ask what pulls the interview frame back and afterward, and who does the pulling. This is Defina and Perino's false dilemma alive on the page. The fourth question, notice who the two people are to each other. Nobody interviews from nowhere. Who am I, who the participant is, and what we are to each other in that room shapes everything that gets said. Look for the places where that relationship surfaces in the talk. A shared reference, a moment of recognition, a hesitation, a thing left unspoken because of who is asking. That is indexicality, and it is not background noise. It is data. So the 4 questions ask you to read my turns as moves. Watch the screech bend. Find where it stops sounding like an interview. Notice who we are to each other, and hold those 4 questions when you read it. The seams will start showing or emerging themselves. Now, you will read an interview that I did to Prophet Blumber, the same teacher that I did for the vignette. That is a reason for me to do that, because you are now getting to know more this teacher and zooming into his own experience. So, the discussion board lays out exactly what to do with what you find. You will see your cluster options there, along with a short planning step to get you thinking about your own interviews. I will not walk you through the mechanics here, because they are written out for you to return to. What I will say is why I gave my own data to work with it. I could have handed you a stranger's transcript. I choose mine deliberately because I would rather you sharpen this skill on a conversation where the stakes are mine before you turn it into a participant on your own or yourself. When you find a place where my interviewing shape, narrow, or open something, You have done the assignment exactly right. That is not a risk you are taking with me. It is the work. So please don't worry about it. So let me give you one thought to carry on into your own field work because that is where this is all heading. The reason we learn to see the interviewer's hand in the data is not so we can feel guilty about it. It's so we can use that information. When you know that your questions help build the narrative, you ask better questions. When you know that the porous moments are the rich ones, you learn to recognize them and stay in them a little longer instead of retreating to your script or your protocol. And when you know a silence or a subject change or a single reformulated word that can redirect everything, you start to make those choices on purpose. So that is the difference between conducting an interview and understanding one. This week, we practice understanding, and I'm looking forward to reading your threads. Take your time with the transcript, with the protocol, sit with it, and trust the scenes you find, especially the uncomfortable ones. So, bye, class. See you in the discussion board, and thank you for your honest comments. Bye.